What's up team, how are we all doing today? Hope you are having a great day. Yes, YouTubers have to do their washing as well. I'm joking, I've got no subscribers. Please subscribe to the channel and drop the video a like. Hope you are doing well and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a good day, and today's video is about training intensity. How hard do you have to train to build muscle? There's the camp like Jeff Cavalier that will say, really poor excuse for RPE and the fact that you have to go all out. And you've got their Jeff Nippard camp, which is a bit more like, this recent study has to calculate the 85% of your 1 rep max for an RPE of 7 out of 10 to build muscle and strength. So you've got Jeff Nippard and Jeff Cavalier on different sides of this sort of debate that was going on in the last year around rate of perceived exertion, so RPE, versus training all out to failure. Now, the video is going to cover what RPE and reps in reserve, so RIR, are, how you can use them as tools during your workout to measure training intensity, and then talking about some practical recommendations between going to all out failure and then using RPE and RIR. So that is the topics for today's video. Reminder to drop the video a like, and then we're going to get into these tips. So how did this conversation come about in the first place? Well, the debate came about because the argument from the train as hard as you can camp, don't worry about reps in reserve and rate of perceived exertion, their standpoint on it is essentially that you are more likely to leave reps in the tank and not push yourself properly under the excuse of I'm at RPE of 7 out of 10. So let's take a step back first of all and talk about what they actually mean. So rate of perceived exertion means how hard do you think you are training out of 10, with 10 being failure, and a 7 out of 10 in this case would mean leaving 3 reps in the tank. And similarly, reps in reserve, so IRR, an IRR of 0 means failure, and a IRR of 3 means you're leaving 3 reps in the tank. So an RPE of 7 and IRR of 3 are equivalent, so they measure the same thing. Now that we know what they mean, the argument for the camp of don't use these tools, don't use them, just train as hard as you can, is that if you set yourself this target of like being 3 reps from failure, the majority of people do not push themselves far enough mentally in the workout. Most people, when they stop 3 reps away from failure, are actually about 5 or 6 reps from failure. And I do understand this logic because it takes a mental resolve to really push yourself in each set. And a lot of people do give up too early on a set. You think when it starts to get a bit hard or you start to feel it a bit, that's when you need to push on further and not hold back. And people do leave gains on the table by doing this. So I do understand that argument. And it's quite hard to accurately track RPE and IRR and calculate percentages of 1 rep max and things like that, especially if you're a beginner. And the flip side of that is, if you go out all out every single set to complete failure, especially as a beginner, and it's not really necessary in order to build muscle, and you're probably going to cause yourself some potential recovery problems, especially if you're taking sets of heavy deadlifts and squats and barbell back squats, think exercises like that where there's a high recovery demand. The glutes are in a lengthened position in a squat or a deadlift, so if you get to the bottom of the squat you are lengthening the glutes, and in lengthened positions there is more potential for muscle damage when loading really heavy and going close to failure. So it's important to manage that recovery and not go to complete failure on every single set, especially complex movements like squats and deadlifts, there's a lot more injury risk that comes with that as well. So that's another consideration, is if you go every set to failure, there's some exercises where it's not really practical to and not safe to as well. I personally don't feel massively comfortable going to complete failure on like something like a Bulgarian split squat. The sets where I've gone very heavy on a dumbbell Bulgarian split squat and gone close to failure, it's a less balanced and stable movement, and therefore the injury risk is higher. Whereas if you think about going to failure on a bicep curl or a leg curl or a leg extension, where you are in a machine, either on a machine in a stable environment, a fixed position, or you are just doing arms or something like that, there is a lot less chance of getting injured on an exercise like this. So going to failure is going to be a lot less risky. So we have to factor in these considerations into our training, and my overall guidance would be on this is that it doesn't really matter too much. Both will work. You can use RPE and RIR and you can train to failure, but basically the number of effective reps, or the reps that count, as people would say, so those last few reps of each set that are challenging enough to stimulate muscle growth, you're going to try and accumulate a certain number of those. And if you train, the closer you train to failure, the less the number of working sets you're going to need effectively. Whereas if you are a bit further away from failure, like RPE 7, say, 3 reps away, 4 reps away, the more sets you're going to have to do to accumulate those reps that are actually going to build muscle, those effective reps. So a sort of general rule of thumb would be, if you are going really, really hard in each set, very close to failure, you can probably get away with 1 or 2 heavy working sets per exercise, whereas you may need 3 or 4 if you are further away from failure, and both are going to give a similar result in this sense. So ultimately it's trial and error, and both will work. It's nothing to be too worried about, and I think the important takeaway is with RPE and IRR, use it as a tool to just have a proxy that you are training hard enough. So the value that I see when I set clients an RPE guidance or IRR is, if you feel like you had more than 3 reps in the tank or more than 2 reps in the tank in a working set and it felt comfortable, that is a sign that you're probably not training hard enough, and that is where this becomes a useful tool. So if you can up the weight or up the number of reps you're doing, you should, in a safe, providing the form is safe. So think of these tools as a way to make sure that you are training hard enough, but I don't think it's necessary as a beginner to be trying to calculate percentages of 1 rep max and going by RPE and IRR as gospel and trying to calculate things too accurately on that front. I don't think it's very necessary. I think you're diving too much into the detail, when actually what is required is you pick a weight that you can control, focus on form and executing it properly, training close enough to failure to stimulate muscle growth through mechanical tension, and then progressing the weights over time, so progressive overload. And this is what's going to get you results. So I don't think, unless you're a power lifter and you need to be calculating percentages of 1 rep max, I don't think it's very necessary. I don't think for most people that just want to get in shape or are starting out in the gym or just need to be a bit more consistent in the gym, I don't think it's massively necessary to be calculating all of this. And I think just pick a weight you can control, train hard, progress the weights over time, and just make a note quickly at the end of each set instinctively about how you found the set. Pick a weight, train, do the set, immediately think, right, I had 3 reps left in the tank, 4 reps left in the tank, or that felt easy or it felt hard. And by making a quick note of that, you're going to be able to track progression quicker, because you'll make sure that you are training hard enough to stimulate growth. But 2, if doing X weight on week 1 felt very difficult, and then that same weight a few weeks later for the same number of reps feels a lot easier and you had more reps left in the tank, that is effectively a form of progressive overload, because the same weight is feeling a lot easier to you, which suggests that you can then up the weight over time or the number of reps you're doing. People get too caught up in the specific numbers of it and arguing back and forth in absolute terms when actually both will work. And RPE and IRR are more just a tool to make sure that the training intensity is there, and that is the overall take on that. So have a go at tracking that in your workouts. Make sure that you are recording sets, reps, the load you're using and how hard you're finding it, brief notes. Don't overthink it. Instinctive reaction at the end of a set. How did it feel? Done. Don't sit there and debate like how hard it was for minutes and minutes at the end of each set. Just do it based on your gut and then go from there. If the training intensity is there and you are progressing your weights over time, you're going to get results, and that's it really. I hope you found today's video useful. If you did, reminder to drop the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm going to keep the content coming, so show the channel some love, and I'll keep getting the content out. And let me know in the comments if there's any topics that you want discussed. Follow me on Instagram at PTShine, link in the description. If you are interested in coaching, getting some support, drop me a message on Instagram or click the links below. There's also a free fat loss guide as well if you want any free tips. So hit the links in my bio and go from there. Thanks very much for watching if you made it this far, and have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you later. Bye.